Hi, friends. I'm Jeffrey Rickman, and this is Plain Spoken, and this is an attempt on my end to help Methodists know what's going on in our tribe. I'm a Global Methodist elder, but I've interviewed people from all over the Methodist spectrum. Today, I have the honor of interviewing a gentleman named Bartolomeu Sapalo. I probably said his name wrong. He is from Angola, southwestern African continent. And they're a native Portuguese. Well, actually, it's not native Portuguese, but the Portuguese colonized that area. He's fluent in Portuguese. He can speak Korean. He's obviously going to be good in English. He's a very learned and educated man, and he serves on the Transitional Leadership Committee of the Global Methodist Church. So that's the top leadership body that has been forming this denomination that I and so many have been enjoying. So he and I just happened to speak on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, I would love to learn about you. Would you be willing to speak with me? And he graciously said yes. So, friends, I'm going to bring him on camera now. This is Bartolomeu. Thank you so much for joining me, brother. How are you today?
Thank you, Jeffrey. I must confess that I have been eager to have this contact through Zoom and to learn more about you and to say you have been a blessing for many of us, at least those who can understand and they can speak English. And the way you have been conducted your ministry, it has been a blessing for many of us, and we have learned a lot for all that you have been doing due to this whole turmoil that the former United Methodist Church has been going through. And for me, it's a blessing to have you on the other side of the ocean.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be of use. I've regretted that I haven't done better at seeking friendships and relationships with brothers and sisters in Africa. And then there have been some countries that I can report on a little bit. I know a few people there. I know you're the only person in Angola I have ever known, and I only barely know you. And I was reading before we spoke just a little bit about the history of your country. I knew just a little bit about colonization and how the Portuguese had a presence. And then I knew that many countries had wars of independence and then civil wars following that. And in many ways, Angola has followed the pattern of many other countries. But that doesn't mean that Angola is exactly the same. And I'm sure there are many very distinct things about the Angolan heritage. I was curious if you could sketch for me and for our audience a history of Methodism in Angola. How did Methodism come to Angola? And then how did you come into the Methodist history?
Thank you, Jeffrey. The Methodist Church came in Angola in 1885. So roughly somewhere around there. And it came with missionaries that settled here in Luanda and built some missions. Then they moved along the East Corridor, where they set other mission, like the so famous mission called the Keswa Mission, Pungwandongo Mission, and many other missions that, due to history, they kind of died up. So remained one mission, which is called the Keswa Methodist mission, whereby there are schools, there are hospitals, there are places where girls and boys start. They come from different region, and then they are set there to be educated. So from that time on, with the time start moving, they trained a lot of people who are today in the government. In fact, this was one of the denominations that bet on training men and women that most of them are holding key positions in the government departments and the health and other areas. So the Methodists became a very, very strong denomination here in Angola in particular. Remember that Angola is a Portuguese speaking country because of the 500 colonization process, which such colonization ended in November of 1975. So we were colonized for about 500 years, which the Portuguese remained here in Angola.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was a very difficult moment because the Portuguese did not want to release the country so that people could be free. And it was a very tough moment whereby a lot of young men died. And unfortunately, after the independence, I'm giving you this overall so that you can have an idea
Yes,
all
please.
that we went through. After the independence, unfortunately, Angola entered into the so-called civil war between the three historical political parties because of the system that each one wanted to uphold. Let's say there was a party which wanted to uphold the socialist, communist political system.
Of course, yes.
And then there is another party which preferred to talk about a kind of democratic government system. And then there was another party which was in between communist and the Western way of government.
Okay.
So these three political parties entered into a very difficult moment of war, which brought a lot of sad moment for the Angolan people, and it caused a lot of poverty right now. And so you can imagine how we went through since that time up to now.
Where did your family come out in all that? What kind of family were you raised in?
I came to a family that politically had no alliance with any of the three because we were from right eastern part of Angola. Now, the political parties in Angola, as they were formed, they came as clans groups.
Okay.
Okay, the three main clans group. Let's say the so-called Kimbundos, then the Ovimbundos, and the Bakongos. So you don't find the Chokwe people much involved in these political scenarios, whereby either you belong to one or the other. So the party that was more flexible to move is the one that we had to join. I mean, now the political party that is governing the country, the MPLA party, where my father and my uncles and so on were all joined. So historically, this is what happened in terms of a political alliance here in Angola. If you are from the south, you were automatically identified as somebody who is aligned with the second major political party called the UNITA. And if you were in the western part of Angola, you were identified with MPLA,
Okay.
which is the government right now. Since 1975. And then if you were in the north part of Angola, up there, you were identified with FNLA political party. So that's the way how things were set. And this picture was also seen in the religious point of view.
Okay.
Those who were in the West were more identified with Methodists.
Okay.
Right. those who were in the south part of Angola were most identified with the so-called congregational evangelical church.
Okay.
And then those who were in the north part of Angola were identified with Baptists.
Okay.
The whole line of Baptists were within the north part of Angola, which comprises of Banza Congo province, Cabinda province, Wij province, and the part of Malange province. So the northern part of Angola were much religiously speaking, were much identified with the Baptist denomination.
But your family was from the east, so what prevailed in the east?
Catholic Church.
Ah.
Catholic Church.
Okay.
So you see, because the Catholic Church was here a long time ago, at the same time that the colonialists came, the Catholic Church also entered. So you can see that everyone was a Catholic until the year between 1884, 1885, when the evangelical denomination started coming in the country.
Was your family Roman Catholic?
Yes, my father and my mother were all Roman Catholic. Even me,
Yes.
when I was a little boy, and in fact, I was even an acolyte
Okay.
in the Roman Catholic Church until at the age of 13, 14 years old, when I moved from Roman Catholic Church to the Methodist Church here in Angola.
So why did you make that change?
Well, I changed there was something very awkward that happened to me. When we were learning catechism, I don't remember if I failed to answer a question. So the catechist hit me hard that I was very, very angry at that very tender age. And I asked myself, why did the catechist beat me? And I got very much frustrated because I had a picture of a church whereby no violence should be used. Like, let's say, a catechist taking a robe and start hitting into a little boy and so on. So that made me very frustrated and very angry. And from that time on, I felt that I did not want to have any linkage with that very particular church. That was my sentiment. And this happened at Lucapa village, Lunda North, at the eastern part of Angola, at so-called Lucapa village, where all this happened in my life.
I'm not sure I understood all of that. I think I understood you to say that you were going through Catholic instruction and you got a question wrong, and they were harsh in their correction of you, and you decided that that was not appropriate and that would not work for you.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at that point you left the Roman Catholic Church. What brought you to the Methodists?
By that time, the Methodist Church was getting into the whole region because it was a time of evangelization. Remember that when we started our conversation, the Methodist Church was only in the western part of Angola. When I say western part of Angola, I mean Malange province, Luanda province, Kwanza North province, a little bit Kwanza Sul province, and then it stopped somewhere around there. So the Methodist Church by that time was only on this geographical area.
So during the time of spread, was it affiliated with the American Methodist Episcopal Church?
That's true.
So was it a mission arm of the American Church, and then did it ever separate, or is there still a United Methodist presence today?
So then from there, as the time went on, the bishop started clarifying everything. But it was in 1981 or 82 when, let's say 4 years after the joint of the Brethren Church and Methodist Church to become a United Methodist Church. But before we were called only Methodist Church of Angola.
Okay.
You see, so it was in 1982, roughly, if my mind is not wrong, between 81 or 82, when the name United Methodist Church began to appear in our official document, was discussed in that particular session that, hey guys, from now onward, our church is called United Methodist Church. So
Okay.
from that time till now, we became United Methodist Church.
And so once you were 13 years old and you decided to check out the local United Methodist Church, you joined the United Methodist Church, and then you eventually were called into ministry?
No, I began to become a regular member. It took roughly, let's say, 5 or 6 years. By that time, I became a little bit adolescent at 17 or 18 years old, when a pastor called Reverend Govea Mawundu found me at school and said, "Hey, young boy, I liked you. Do you want to become a member of my church?" By that time, I was no longer going to the Catholic Church. So I said, "Well, let me understand how it works." He said, "No, it's a very strong denomination, and I see in you a very bright young man. I want to take advantage of you to do something for the church." I said, "Okay, let's see." So I took him to my father's house. I introduced this pastor to my parents and said, "Well, if you feel that you want him to do something, it's okay." So he took me to another province to do a local training pastor school. So from there, I became a local pastor, very young. At that time, I was very young. I became a secretary for the Saurimo United Methodist Church. It was the first United Methodist Church at that particular province. Saurimo is the capital city of Lunda Sul province. So from there, 2 or 3, 4 years later, let's say 1994, I was granted the scholarship to go to Africa University in Zimbabwe, where I stayed roughly for 5 to 6 years schooling. And I graduated, I had a degree, undergraduate degree in divinity. So in August of 2000, I came back from Zimbabwe and I became ordained elder, deacon and then elder, and became the bishop assistant for 1 year or roughly 1 or 2 years. And
In
from
Angola?
that time, in Angola, that's right.
What was the bishop's name?
Jose Kipungo.
Okay.
Jose Kipungo, yes. So from that time on, 2 years later,
He's still the current bishop, is he not?
He retired officially on the Charlotte conference,
Did he? Okay.
general conference. So I was sent to Quitubie to plant the church there. So I planted the so-called Quito Central United Methodist Church, where I found roughly, let's say, not more than 10 members. So I stayed there for about 12 years as a pastor, and I left a building, a very good infrastructure. I left more than 300 members by the time I left the church there. And I gave a break because I was invited by a provincial governor to become the provincial director for education in the government sector.
Oh.
Yes, I became the provincial director of education because at the high level, I studied education. and I specialized in English Portuguese language. So they gave me this flexibility to work for the Ministry of Education at provincial level. From that time on, and then I think I stayed out of the church ministry for about 10 years, or more or less 10 to 11 years, roughly, if my mind doesn't. Because I was serving in the government sector, so I had to request that sabbatical leave at tell Bishop. I don't want to mix working for the government and then doing anything for the church. So I want to focus my mind into the government.
Right.
Now, Jeffrey, let me say what the experience I had. I have been always eager to say I wanted to serve God at the highest level. I never hid this perspective. So when the bishop wanted to retire, he invited all the clergies who were on sabbatical leave to come back to the church. And he appointed us. In fact, he invited me. I went to his office, and he said, "Okay, Sapalo, I'm glad that you accepted my invitation. Remember that I'm almost 70 years old, and according to the book of discipline of the United Methodist Church, I was supposed to leave this office at 68. But you remember what happened, all this turmoil,
COVID stuff,
COVID situation, and then that problem of not convening the general conference, and then consequently the central conference, whereby I was supposed to step down, made me to get up to this time. So I want all of you to come back, and whoever the church may decide to choose at our next annual conference session becomes my substitute and carry on with the church business. And I felt, no, it's very comfortable. Since he's not going to run, I can run for the post, no problem.
Right.
So we went to the process of election, and I won.
Oh, wow.
Right at the annual conference session in 2020.
Okay.
Right? I got more than 150 votes, somewhere around there, comparing to other clergies who were candidate to the office.
Okay.
I got something like 134 or 35, I don't recall. Then there is another candidate who got 112 votes. And then there's another candidate who got, let's say, like 70 votes. And then the last one who was immediately disqualified because of the rules of the church with 50 plus votes. So until that moment, everything was okay. But remember that during the year 2020 up to 2023, we had this pandemic COVID situation. And because of this, our general conference session was being postponed because we held our annual conference session in February, and then the central conference where we were going to be officially elected, it was supposed to be in August of the same year. But then we know what happened with this COVID situation, so the election did not happen. But there is a problem behind it. Remember that I told you that the church was being held in a very tribal situation.
Okay.
Whereby people who received the gospel believe that they are the one who received the gospel, so the church is their property.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then it's like, let's say, Jeffrey, in a very playful manner, you are the one who received this bottle of water. And then, but there's a time when we say this bottle of water we were told that is for you and me. Mm-hmm. So if you drink up to the half, the rest you have to give me, so that we all drink the water.
Right.
But there were people who believed, I don't know how, that the church, this UMC church, is their family and personal property, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's human behavior all over the world, yes.
And they can say, okay, you remember it's my grandfather who got the missionaries, and you remember when they came, we were the ones who had this interaction with them, and therefore this church must not be led by anyone who does not belong to such and such tribe. It was very difficult to cope up with this kind of Christianity. If I call it Christianity, because Christ said you, not the Apollo, not the Paul, but we are all Christ's body, that we can live together harmoniously, we can share, we can love each other without this distinction and prejudice behavior. So the people from the eastern part began to feel almost excluded from the whole process.
From the eastern part of Angola?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the people from the south, where we went to evangelize, also began to feel, okay, we feel that this denomination belongs to a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. We have no space on this place. We don't belong here.
So let me summarize up till this point. What I hear you saying is you got elected by your annual conference to replace the bishop, but because of the dysfunction in the denomination, it didn't move quickly enough. And in the meantime, different tribal concerns and regional concerns came into play, caused resentment. And so for the sake of, we've got 10, maybe 15 minutes left to talk, let's fast forward a little bit and talk about what caused you to leave the United Methodist Church?
This was one of the reasons. Uh-huh. When they thought, if we don't want this guy to come and become the bishop. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if we allow him to go to the central conference, he will become elected, definitely. Yeah. So one of the things to get rid of him is to expel him from the church.
On what grounds?
Because they say that I belong to Wesleyan Covenant Association.
Oh, okay.
I'm part of the Africa Initiative Executive Committees. All those who are traditional, who have traditional conservative perspective, mm-hmm. with whom we had this partnership, they said that these guys are betrayal of the church. So therefore, their representative in Angola should be taken out of the United Methodist Church.
So they formed a campaign against you because you were allied with the WCA and the Africa Initiative, and you had friends in the Global Methodist Church, and so they said, get this guy out of here. So you didn't leave, they removed you.
They kicked him out. I can even email you the letter that say where they argue that I was kicked out of the church because I treasoned the church. I betrayed the church. And I said, where is the treason? We are defending orthodox of the church. Mm-hmm. And you guys are showing kind of liberalism, trying to introduce in a very sneaky way what the church is saying. No, since 1972. They said, you don't have to talk, but we don't want you here. So they kicked me out of the church.
On whose authority? Did the bishop allow this, or who?
He was the pioneer.
Oh.
He was the pioneer because those who belong to his clan said, Bishop, if you allow this guy to go there, he will come here as a bishop and our agenda will not be fulfilled. You are the only person who can kick him out of the church.
So let me back off a little bit and just ask, how large is the United Methodist Church in Angola? Is it large?
Very, very, very big. I think it's one of the third biggest denomination in Angola.
Okay. And then are they mostly, is their sensibilities evangelical conservative, or are they more friendly with the American progressives than other Africans?
The members below the top leadership are highly conservative.
Mm-hmm.
This is undiscussable. Now, those who surround the top leadership,
Mm-hmm.
because of maybe their agenda or whatever I can call it, they defend. They don't declare openly, but the way they defend, they say, "Don't know, we are all together, we can live together," and so on.
Yeah.
And I remember maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, they will here in Angola, here in Luanda, there will be the annual conference session, and I think this is one of the issues that they are going to discuss. Mm-hmm. The members want the leadership to explain very well what they've discussed at Charlotte General Conference.
Yeah.
But people know they want the confirmation from the leadership. They say, "We want to hear you."
Do you think that they will be interested in leaving the United Methodist Church once they learn about?
Many of them will just leave.
Okay.
Many of them, I receive a lot of reports and communication from people said, as soon as the things becomes out of control, mm-hmm. they will leave. They will leave the denomination because people feel betrayed by the high leadership.
Yes. Of course they do. So, are you leading a global Methodist community as a pastor there, or how are you serving the Global Methodist Church in Angola right now?
Right now, I'm the let's say is the official representative of the GMC in Angola. Mm-hmm. I have been credentiated by the Transitional Leadership Council. Mm-hmm. And I am the one who is working on the planting of the GMC in Angola. Very good. Now, I have worked with a law firm to help us push the whole process to make sure that before September we have our GMC planted in Angola as soon as possible. We are working on that, and there are so many non-Methodist congregation who want to join the GMC agenda. Right now, I will be meeting with a group of 25 leaders who are really interested to make sure that we organize all the documents to make sure that before September, San Jose, Costa Rica, we have our GMC here in Angola officially to operate.
Are you optimistic about a large number of United Methodist churches leaving and joining the Global Methodist Church?
Very optimistic. Okay. I know it's not going to be easy because the top leadership, they're afraid. And I have been threatened to a guy who is a big person, said, you, and they said a lot of words that we don't need to express on this record. Mm-hmm. But he showed me that it's like we are not welcome in Angola. GMC is not welcome. Mm-hmm. I remember two guys went to the Ministry of Culture, which is the department that superintends the religious affairs and so on. And they said, Minister, I came here just to alert you. You may receive papers from this kind of denomination referring to GMC. Mm-hmm. You may see a guy trying to make an appointment with you with this profile. Don't welcome him. He's promoting the LGBTQ plan here in Angola, so we don't want him to. So don't welcome him.
They were saying that about you.
Yes, they were
Liars.
saying it about me. They say, a lot of slandering, a lot of misinformation, and so on. They said, you don't welcome him, minister. We are the church that we help the country get independence, and if you see somebody with this kind of document, don't welcome him. I tried to bring Bishop John Scott here. I hope you know him, or you have heard about him. John Scott. Yes.
I know there's a John Scholl.
No, in the GMC we have two bishops.
Oh.
Bishop Webb and Bishop Scott.
Scott Jones.
I was supposed to bring Scott John. That's right. I was supposed to invite him to kind of officiate our. I had to abort. I had to cancel his coming.
Oh no.
Yes, I had to say no. When things are okay, then we are going to officially invite you. Why? I submitted a letter of notification to certain departments to say, okay, we are willing to invite our guest, Bishop Scott Jones from US and so on. So I submitted document in the certain department, and then all suddenly, after they have accepted that he's welcome, I got a phone call to say, okay, Reverend Sapalo, we are glad for you. We got your letter, but the boss won't be here by that time. Therefore, you try to abort, try to cancel the visit or the coming of your bishop here. I said, okay, fine. So when do you think your boss can welcome my bishop? We don't know. We give us some times, and then we'll see how we can work on that.
That's fine.
And I suspected that there were people behind it to say, don't entertain any documents coming from this gentleman. So you can see how things became very tough for us. Even right now, there was a time when I was even afraid of my own life. Because of the status quo. People are afraid of status quo. They have been used with certain kind of style of lifestyle, and when they feel that there's a denomination that coming with power, strong, with strength, they feel almost threatened, say, okay, these guys are going to, I don't know, but we try all means to make sure that they don't prevail. But I know God will make it way through.
Around the world, the United Methodist leadership has felt very entitled to hold on to everything that they have, even as they betray the trust that they were given. And so it takes hard work like yours, where you're laying groundwork amidst much opposition, and it sounds like you've done it very capably. Just briefly, this needs to be the last question for today. How have you experienced your time on the Transitional Leadership Committee? Has that been a happy partnership for you?
Very, very. There is a compromise. I feel it. Although we are, let's say, Africa, we are only 3 Africans in the TLC. We are 3. It's me, Kimba, and Baziel from Kimba from DRC, me from Angola, and then we have a guy from Nigeria, called Reverend Baziel. So we are 3. But I feel that as time goes on, we will become mature to bring more, and so that it becomes more heterogeneous TLC. Let's see how it's going to come after the convening general conference. If we are going to continue with TLC, if the TLC is going to continue, or we are going to have another body that will replace the Transitional Leadership Council. If so, we will work in a way that we bring equilibrium. We don't want to be a prototype of the UMC,
Right.
whereby agencies, when you go there, there's no representation. I'm talking about the Board of Higher Education and Ministry, the Board of Global Ministries, AMCOR.
Yeah, the general boards and agencies of the United Methodist Church.
There were no representation, but you
Right.
say we are a connected church. The kind of prerequisite to incorporate were so tough, were difficult for people who speak Portuguese to join those institutions. Let's say somebody say, okay, for you to become member of the, let's say, the General Board of Higher Education means you have to speak English. But if I did not learn English, how do you think I can be part and parcel of that family?
Right. Yeah, it was de facto American leadership for the whole denomination, and that cannot be the case in the Global Methodist Church. The Global Methodist Church has to be more equitable.
We are saying if we want to make a difference, there are certain aspects. They look like minors, but they are very, very strong. And they can become like cancer.
Yeah.
When they develop, there's no way you can cure them.
That's right.
Look at the way the United Methodist Church fell because of a lot of psychological arrogance. This is very true.
Sure, yeah.
If you say, okay, you want to join me, but you have to do this. Okay, fine. But I don't have this, but I have other way to help to be part and parcel of this family, of this institution. If you look at, for example, the Portuguese-speaking community in these agencies of the United Methodist Church, our former denomination, you find maybe one or two. But for him or her to be part of that community, had to pass through a very strong recommendation for someone who is very influential.
Yes.
Unlike for the English-speaking community, let's say Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, or maybe other communities. But for the Portuguese-speaking community, it has become very difficult to be part of this institution. So we don't want that in the GMC, and I'm sure the GMC is learning a lesson from our previous denominations.
May it be so. Yes. Well, I know we could talk a lot longer, and I regret that we have to cut things off now, but I'd like to conclude our conversation now by just thanking you for your service in Angola and for serving amongst a lot of opposition, and I'm sure there have been many not fun times. And I'm very thankful to brothers like you on the African continent who haven't given up on Americans as a whole, but you understand that it's just some of us who really ruin things, and that you've been optimistic about continued cooperation with American leadership and Filipino leadership, and God willing, we're gonna have a global movement. And I just want to thank you for serving at the top of it and being optimistic and being a leader. So thank you so much, Bartolomeu.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I want to say God bless your little boy.
Thank you. Yes.
I remember when we were about to talk last week, but we were surprised positively with a giant. So God
the birth
bless
of my son Josiah. Yes, thank you.
Yes. So may God bless your ministry, bless your wife, and it's my desire that we can meet maybe in September at Costa Rica, so that we can talk personally and hug each other. And God bless you in everything.
Thank you, brother. Yes, there will be a time where we meet. It's not going to be in the general conference. I'm going to be here, but I'm so excited to be in the same body as you for many years to come. So thank you, brother.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.